So hello, today I'm in my hometown Billericay and we're going to do a slightly different video. We're going to listen to protesters or protest groups of Billericay with their views on the proposed housing developments, which are numerous. So a local newspaper which covers Basden, Wickford, Billericay etc., called the Evening Echo, the reporter's going to head down here. So I believe what we're looking at here, all this sort of shrubbery and borderline, I believe that will be one of the developments. And when we're talking about numbers, we're talking hundreds of houses in each plot. So it will have a big impact on the town. So if I can ask you what this event means to you today, because this is about stopping the mass development for Billericay, is that correct?
That's correct, yeah. Billericay is a lovely village type area and they are looking to build on every piece of land they can find without putting substantial infrastructure in. Schools are already oversubscribed.
Okay. Yeah.
Doctors, well, who could
parking,
get... More importantly, this land absorbs rainwater, and we've seen the amount of floods.
Okay.
This road, you couldn't get it last week after the rain had come, and that's just going to get worse.
So you're quite concerned about the impacts of flooding
and traffic coming up with all these new houses. It's going to be gridlocked.
Stand. So yeah, I'm going to ask this gentleman, how do you feel about the proposed housing development?
I'm really disappointed how bad the consultation's been and how the developers are allowed just to keep using the power of development to use the political system to lobby governments and really take no consideration of the residents. Our property is going to be surrounded on all three sides by the development. I approached the developer for some consultation. I had one meeting with him and he made it very clear to me this is money driven, it's not out of necessity, it's out of personal greed, is my view.
It's coming from above, from the government?
I believe it's coming from the government with no actual consultation with the local people in any shape or form.
And the consultation that they have, they make it so difficult. You've got to go into a portal, you can't get in the portal.
That sign? Yeah, we got in front of the sign.
It's so painful. Every time you put, they send you a letter out, you respond to it, and they go, right, that one's scrapped. Now you've got to do this one. We've got lives. We haven't got time to do it.
Yeah, of course, you've got a life to live, and thanks for your time anyway, and good luck with today.
Thank you.
I've got one thing I'd like to add, and it's possibly a little bit confrontational, but why not say it, yeah?
Go on then. I like confrontation.
What's very interesting as well, Scott Properties, they come from Colchester, they all live in a nice little country background, but when you actually look at Scott Properties, they actively source confrontational greenbelt land in rural parts all over the UK. The company specialises in this. They do not look at urban regeneration. All they specialise is contestable greenbelt land.
So they're not looking at brown belt, they're looking at green belt.
They're only looking at green belt, and they're very proud of it all over their website, and they use the might of supermarkets to fund their political adventures into overthrow green belt land.
Thanks for letting me know that. Thank you very much.
Different angles.
Based upon the evidence of population growth within the area. Infrastructure first is sacrosanct because no developer can go to a planning committee unless they can demonstrate they've got the funding to actually provide the infrastructure that's needed. This idea of developers halfway through the development saying, once we've sold so many properties, we'll then develop the infrastructure. They never ever do. We've seen it time and time again where developers have just shirked their responsibility on Section 106.
And one of the other issues I personally have, and advert work go, is they say we've got a need for another 200 traveller sites. There's only a need because that's what the government has said. As far as I'm concerned, if every borough in the country took their fair share of traveller sites, so it's not an attack on travellers. If every borough was instructed in their local plan, they will have 6 sites containing 10 pitches, then that would actually stop there being an issue just in the Basildon borough. So it's wrong.
And last time when we had the meeting in Sporting Village, which was incredibly well attended by the residents of Billericay, it was recognised that their plan at the time was to put a traveller pitch on every new development. And we said that was absolutely wrong. The traveller community didn't want it, the residents didn't want it, but now they're being very silent and swerving that issue. So where are these traveller pitches going to come from?
So with this lovely lady who's part of Frithwood Lane, which is a local sort of area of Billericay, which would have been affected by this development or another development. So what can you tell me about your sort of group? How's it affecting you?
So Frithwood Lane Action Group, FLAG, was part of BAG, and the main reason we were formed because they wanted the previous local plan that's now been out, they wanted to put in a relief road.
Okay.
And that would have meant our road going from about 200 to 300 cars a day to over 10,000.
Wow.
Yes, and it also included...
How did you come up with that figure?
Not me.
Oh,
they came up.
That's a big jump.
That is a huge jump. Yeah, I mean things like 1600 during the rush hour.
But even so, it would have affected the residents, wouldn't it?
Completely. We didn't think we'd be able to park our car in our drive, to be honest. Yes.
Did I remember I remember from being down there last time, it was going to be compulsory purchasing the driveways of the
Absolutely
residents.
was. Yes. So I'd have been one of those affected, but it would cut us off from the town. The whole thing was. You know, we accept that we have to have houses. Of course, we all accept that. It's the number of houses and how much effort has gone into finding brownfield sites before they do the green belt.
So brownfield is basically ex sort of commercial properties and so on. Is concreted over maybe.
Possibly, not necessarily. Sometimes there's a little bit of. It's not easy to tell what sort of greenfield, what's brownfield. So some greenfield, like green belt, like this here, is clearly green belt.
Okay.
Some of it is not so clear, but it has been classed as green belt for a reason.
Okay. But brown belt's been previously used in some way, I guess.
And classified as such, and we feel as though there are certainly, maybe not enough brownfield sites to not touch it, but there are definitely more that they need to look at. They tend to cost more to develop, so developers don't really like them.
I suppose because we've got to clear the waste.
Absolutely,
and soil, yeah.
Absolutely.
So how do you think this will affect Billericay? I mean, we're talking the proposed numbers of properties are what, 1,000?
In total?
Yeah.
Oh no, it's nearer 4,500 to 5,000.
4,500 to 5,000.
Yes, so it's a huge amount of building, and of course we haven't got the infrastructure. Doesn't look like we're going to get the infrastructure. We already struggle the way it is, and this is going to make things so much worse. We have a real problem with flooding.
Yeah,
and
that's come up a few times today.
Yeah, and we keep being told that, you know, they're doing things to mitigate the flooding, but then what happens is we see a plan that looks like it's mitigating the flooding, and then we see it gets changed.
Okay.
So a lot of these are plans in principle. Okay, and it all comes down to money. It all comes down to money. What we were saying is, within the borough there seems to be this view that Billericay people just want to protect Billericay, and we do because it's our home environment.
Of course.
But we could be anywhere and we would want to protect it, and actually what we need is the whole borough to get together against this Labour administration and against the Labour government to say enough is enough. We don't want it anywhere. We don't want it in Billericay, we don't want it in Bowers Gifford, we don't want it anywhere. We really do need more people in the Basildon borough to get together with us and
stand up for us.
Stand up for everybody, because
Otherwise,
before you know it, we've lost that. And in 20, 30 years, our children are going to be saying, so you used to grow wheat here and you can't grow it anymore, and we have to import everything at so much of the cost.
Yes.
And We really need to stop that now.
And
Yeah.
why didn't you do more, they'll say?
They will say why didn't we? So as much as climate change,
yeah.
as much as climate change is an issue, so is this, because we only have about 8%, I think, that's actually farming land. And we really need to have more. We need to be more self-sufficient.
Absolutely. You're thinking way ahead, and good for you. Thanks for your time.
Thank
anyway.
you.
Thank you.
Bye.
So I'm with Councillor for Burstead. We'd like to ask you about your views on the whole situation of mass development, isn't it, for Billericay and the surrounding areas?
Well, there is, but I mean, there is a need for housing, and I think it would be hard to actually argue against the fact that there is a need for housing across the borough. Now, the narrative that seems to be coming out of the current administration is that Billericay are all NIMBYs and they don't want to do their fair share. But in fact, that's far from the truth, and there's many residents I've spoken to say that they'd be too happy to take housing. What the concern is, and it's a universal concern, I think it's quite right, is the amount of volume of housing. 27,000 homes over the next 20 years is just unsustainable, and it's not organic growth of the population.
Sorry, what that figure covers what area?
That covers the entire Basildon borough, 27,000. But it's still, Billericay is taking a fair amount of that. The other concern the residents have, quite rightfully, is the fact that this is being done with infrastructure only coming when it's needed. But in fact, it's well known that in fact infrastructure is actually needed immediately, because you've got to start doing the work beforehand.
Absolutely. So this process of building these properties, how long will it take, do you think, Councillor?
Well, we struggled with it because you do get a lot of developers that land bank, so they put in applications which are either speculative or applications which they actually then want to sit on, and for whatever reasons the developers have, be it logistics or how they can actually squeeze an extra bit of profit, they actually then don't build. And this is part of the problem we had as an administration, and it's a challenge for the current administration. What we do need to see is some sort of reform and legislation that actually forces developers, that they put a planning application in, to actually build the houses.
Thanks for your time.
No, thank you.
Thanks for talking. So these fine ladies are Billericay residents. So how does it affect you to have possibly 4,500 houses going up, and all the cars and obviously the new people that will be moving in?
Yeah, it's going to cause horrendous congestion to start. Yeah, and as we've said, the road's going to be a rat run as it comes through here, and so much is going to be lost.
Yeah.
The green belt, it's just all going to be lost.
So would you say that Billericay's stretched already?
Definitely. Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm a resident myself here, so obviously getting a place at the doctor's or school,
yes.
or just parking the car in the supermarket is a bit of a challenge, isn't it?
Yes, it certainly is. Yes. And at peak times, it's murder getting in and out of Billericay already, isn't it? Along the main roads here. So any further pressure on that is going to be really, really a problem. Yeah.
Thanks for your time. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I'm with this lady who's also a Billericay resident, who's going to tell us her views on the whole situation. Yes, so what are your views today?
Well, the main issue that's arising from the local plan is that 27,000 homes is totally undeliverable and just unrealistic.
That's across the whole of Basildon Borough, isn't it?
That's across the borough. So, and 5,000 of those are due to be in Billericay.
Wow.
It will actually change the face of this area.
Absolutely.
But the main issue is that it's being driven by a government algorithm which is totally unrealistic. And Basildon Council need to go back to the government and challenge that figure, because it needs to come down. The figure is about 3 to 4 times what it should be for local need.
Really?
It is. And so that's really unacceptable.
Have the planners or the powers that be, have they calculated the extra sort of doctors, schools, parking spaces, anything like that? Have they taken that into consideration, or are they just saying we want to put in an extra 2,500 or 3,000 or 4,000 houses?
Yeah, it's actually about 5,000 houses that are being
Wow.
Billericay, and there's no new infrastructure that's been put in place to mitigate the traffic, particularly on London Road, particularly at Sun Corner. there are, the proposal is just to put in filter lanes on the existing road. Well, on London Road, you could easily see another 1,100 cars or more as a result of these estates. So putting in filter lanes or even some new software on the lights at Tycombe Road is not going to mitigate that.
May I see the map you've got there?
Yeah, of course. So to give you some idea, we will lose most of the countryside in Billericay. It's absolutely
I'm just going to zoom in on that.
I've never seen anything. Yeah, so this is Billericay town centre. This is where we are on London Road. So you can see there's a huge estate there that's planned of 480 houses. That estate only will be about 1,200 new residents, 850 new cars. There's a plan for 130 houses opposite it. There's a plan for 65 retirement flats here, and then you get onto Tycombe Road, and it's so vague we don't even know what the figures are, how many houses are being planned here. We don't actually know, but what we do know is that on Tycombe Road this has been an open and rural aspect since Roman times, and it actually contributes highly to the Greenbelt criteria. So that shouldn't be in the plan.
This is Blunt's Fort, isn't it?
Yes, exactly. And then we've got we come down to Frithwood, and the ancient forest, ancient woodland at Frithwood, and they propose that it goes right up to that boundary, or within 25 metres.
Could you point that out, please?
We're down at Frithwood, so there should be at least 100 metres from that boundary. But again, the only access is onto Leyden Road. So because that's one way, you can't actually drive up from this roundabout here. You have to go towards Sun Corner, so it will massively increase that. And
sorry to interrupt, but you can see it affects all the villages around. Little
Burstead,
of course it will. Burstead,
yes,
South Green, and so on.
Of course it will. And we've already had Greenbelt lost, significant Greenbelt in Billericay. There's up to 200 houses being built at Kennel Lane roundabout. The work on that's already started. Down on Southend Road, there is up to 100 houses.
Some fences going up.
Yes, so that's already started. And where Maitland Lodge is, also on Southend Road, there's 49 houses being built there. So Billericay has already lost significant Greenbelt.
Well, I hope it goes in our favour.
Yes.
If we can slow it down, at least slow it down,
yes.
Reduce it.
Yes, it needs to be reduced. It's really important to say that we do need a local plan, but it needs to be a realistic plan based on local need, and that local need is between 6,000 and 7,000 homes over the next 20 years. And actually, Basildon Borough have already granted in the borough 7,000 permissions, so that we don't need to just keep granting more permissions in the hope that something will get built.
Well, thanks for your time today, and good luck with the future.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So thank you very much for joining me today in Billericay. And it's very interesting to listen to the residents' views of the proposed, and it is proposed, mass development that's coming. I was born in 1969, and myself I've seen many changes to Billericay. I've seen how the High Street has changed, and I've seen how it's been redeveloped, and it's continuing right now as we speak. I understand that people have to live somewhere, and the majority of people moving to this town have come from London, and I understand why they've moved out. My father himself moved out in the 60s, and hence I was born here. But I think the problem with Billericay, with the development, is a lack of infrastructure and just a scale of development. I mean, 4,500 houses, and if you say there's 2 cars per house, you can do simple maths. the town as it is creaking under things like parking your car, going to supermarkets and so on. There just isn't enough of everything to go around. And if you've got children that have to go to school, you know, places are very tight. Everything is basically stretched. So I don't think they've worked out very well where these extra people are going to be, you know, sending their kids, or what doctor they're going to be seeing, etc. I think the other issue that's come up, which is probably a major issue actually, is flooding. Although they can put in extra pipe work to alleviate the, you know, to shedding the water, I think it's just going to move the problem somewhere else. And when I was young, the road we're on now, London Road, as it goes towards Hutton, it used to regularly flood in a very bad way, and they worked on it there and then. So I think ideally, to get the numbers down to a couple of thousand, like the lady said there, over a 20-year period rather than the next couple of years would be ideal. Thank you very much.